Horner disagrees with the FIA new rule. Since the FIA announced the new rules, tongues have been waggling between teams. Mercedes and Red Bull have publicly taken opposing views on the matter. Welcome to F1 Freaks. Let's show you what Horner's grouse is all about. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner still doesn't understand why the FIA wants to come up with a porpoising measure. After the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a number of teams begged for change about the bounce. In recent races, however, the Red Bull team boss has not seen any cars that suffered from porpoising. "I saw no problems in France again," Horner said to Autosport.com. "I don't think there have been any problems in the last 3 or 4 races. There just has to be a logical solution where you don't have to rewrite the regulations." The FIA and the teams for a change say it is about the safety of drivers. Horner doesn't believe any of this. "I find it very easy to draw the safety card. It is up to the teams how they want to set up their car. You can say porpoising is very easy to solve, but then you lose speed. It is not up to the FIA to make the team competitive. Otherwise, we would have had one balance of performance for the engines." Horner has been left livid that a change has been made mid-season, even on health and safety grounds. "The porpoising issue with Mercedes is more severe than any other car," said Horner. "That surely is down to the team. That's within their control to deal with that. It's not affecting others. I know they've said that other drivers have been complaining, but our drivers have never complained about porpoising. Certainly, we haven't had an issue with bouncing. If a car is dangerous, a team shouldn't field it. It has that choice. Or the FIA if they feel an individual car is dangerous. They always have a black flag at their disposal. You can't just suddenly change technical regulations halfway through a season." He took a swipe at Mercedes, opining that Mercedes will be benefiting from the new rules. One of the changes included raising the floor edging and underfloor diffuser throat by 25mm. To that, he has this to say: "A certain team can run its car lower and benefit from that concept," said Horner at the time. He also said, "There's an awful lot of lobbying to change regulations for next year," with the implication being that Mercedes was the main source of this. Asked about this suggestion, Wolff shrugged it off. "I don't know what he refers to because we are all part of the same circus. We work with the same stakeholders," said Wolff. "Lobbying? Is he not lobbying? He sits in his office and doesn't call anyone?" After Max Verstappen's victory at Paul Ricard, he added, "I think safety is a very easy car to stand behind because theoretically it is not subject to a commission or World Council vote. I think something can be done, but it just needs to be sensible. The numbers that have been discussed are way too extreme compared to the reality of what probably could be done." Horner also does not agree with the matrix proposed by the FIA. "The numbers mentioned are way too extreme, and it's a bit of an overreaction to what's happening. When they talk about 25mm, you have completely different aerodynamics. As Red Bull has not had major problems with porpoising and bouncing, unlike Mercedes and to a lesser extent title rival Ferrari, Horner is wary of the regulations being used to fix problems individual teams could solve if they sacrifice performance. I'd actually dispute it as a safety issue," said Horner. "It's down to the team how it chooses to operate its car. You can remove the porpoising very easily, but that's at the sacrifice of performance. It's not the duty of the FIA to ensure that a team is competitive. Otherwise, we'd have had engine BOPs over the past 10 years. While Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Chauvelin has argued rule changes are necessary to tackle the problem on the basis that if we want to solve some of the fundamental issues, you're not going to do that leaving the rules alone. Horner has warned against a rewrite. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has dismissed implied threats that Formula One teams could challenge the FIA over its planned technical regulation rule changes for 2023 as posing. "You wonder why they are fighting so hard," said Wolff when asked about the risk of a legal challenge. "Because I read in the media that it's not relevant, it's not a big change, so why are you fighting so much that you're threatening to go legal? No team is ever going to go legal against the FIA, number one, if the FIA decides to implement something on safety grounds. So I think this is just posing," he concluded. That's some statement coming from Wolff there. McLaren is supportive of the changes, with technical director James Key arguing that it is logical to take action to solve the problem for good, rather than taking the risk that the problem does get worse. We recognise those ways of getting rid of it, but it can come back again quickly if you add certain types of development or increase your downforce, said Key. So rather than take that risk, from the FIA's point of view, it makes sense to just try and remove the issue entirely, but also show that we're taking it seriously and doing something about it after the concerns raised by some of the drivers. I'm not saying it would be negligent not to, but you've got to be careful here. You can't just assume that teams are going to do it, and it may not be everyone's priority, whereas for others, these things are their priority. It seems Horner can only complain, or should we say whine about it. The rules are going to be implemented, and there's nothing anyone could do about it. The second thing is every team is going to have an opinion, depending on whether they've got a porpoising problem or where they are in the championship. We don't porpoise, we've got a development plan that works okay, but we still think it's a good idea. So we haven't got an agenda here. It's much more a case of, well, actually, we could all do without this. We don't want it to get worse again. We don't want someone to get hurt by it. Looking at simple steps which can try to mitigate it is by far the best thing to do, rather than rely on all these brilliant people whose priority isn't porpoising every day to try to fix it. Horner, having conceded that those teams against the changes can do little to prevent the FIA from following through with its plan, again stated his opinion that it is not a safety issue. I'd actually dispute that it is a safety issue, he said. I think it is down to how a team chooses to operate its car. You can remove the porpoising very easily, but that is at the sacrifice of performance. He further argued about the budget cap. The Red Bull team boss thinks it's too late to implement these regulations. Certainly, with the current budget limit, it's going to be an even bigger problem for the small teams because they don't have the resources to respond to this, Horner concluded. Teams are still divided over the new FIA rules at Circuit Paul Ricard. 6 teams have reportedly expressed interest in contesting the regulation change. This is primarily due to their perception that the problem has already been resolved and that security is no longer a risk. The 5 teams are reportedly Ferrari, Red Bull Racing, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams. According to reports, there are 8 clubs in all that would be willing to make concessions and agree to a minor alteration in the rules. That's all guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and click on the bell icon for notifications. We'd like to get some feedback from you. Let us know what you think about the new FIA rules.